Tommy, since we share the same name, I'll give you a bit of advice. You said stop waiting and do what? Anticipating? No. Stop waiting for $100 and embrace XRP for each price level it's at. And if it achieves that kind of a price appreciation, you get down on your knees and you thank your shining stars. But in the process, you look at reality and you look at substance and you forget about that price altogether. You don't want to keep that fostering in your mind. What we're looking for is we're looking for this setup. Yesterday was to come up. We were either going to come up to that $2.03, $2.02 area. It's not by accident that we understood the drop and then the pullback up. And yesterday when we were doing this live, we had a lot of people in here. And the one thing I kept saying was, we're coming up to this resistance and there's no volume at $2.02. And I said, generally when this happens, we've gone as far as we can go. We're topping out here in the stochastic and the shorter time frames. We don't have volume accompanying this bounce back up. It started to foster the illusion of a bull trap. And it's what you would expect after a volatile drop down to $1.84. And it's a good lesson for anybody who's caught up almost like in the emotional drain or the emotional holy crap moment. If you're in a position and you're like, I should have liquidated, or I wanted to take profits, or I should have done something at this level, assuming you're not in a leverage trade, because this goes out the window in a leverage trade. You might as well just pick it up and throw it right out the window. So when you have a big drop like that, and it's not like it's the craziest drop, but it was over a 10% drop. You went from $2.06 down to $1.84, and then it immediately pulls back up to $2.02. So could you have got 100% of the drop back? About 90 in reality. So then you could have sold, seeing there wasn't any volume, and you could have took the profit you might have had on a move. Maybe, I don't know what the case might have been. Everybody has different cases. But that's definitely a good lesson for everybody to learn. Because it took me a long time in other markets to realize, like, okay, well, every time I panic and it makes a drop, and most times, because it's on an algorithm, once you realize that, unless it's just it's over. Sometimes it's the over moment, and the token, the asset, the stock, the commodity, whatever the case may be, it's done. And now we're not going to retest that area for a very long time. Eventually it will, unless the token or asset dies. But in that case, I guess it's on us anyhow because we made an improper investment. Another thing working against us this morning is the fact that we got to be honest with ourselves. Like, platinum's up 3.6%, up to 2,400. Gold right now is up $124 right now. And they were correcting a little bit. Silver's up 5.4% to $95 here. The miners are just going to wake up this morning. They're probably going to put on a little bit of a gain this morning. I don't know how big. So that's money driving itself out of our market. Because people, I always say this, man, Dolly Varden's starting to pick it up now a little bit, up to 523 in pre-market. But a lot of people end up going from, and this is a true story, a lot of people will go from risk on to risk off if they can see volatile movements. Now, we're looking at 3% across the board, 5% on some things down. And then you go into the miner section and you're like, well, look at this in pre-market. Again, up 4% for the silver miners. Another one's up almost 4%. Fortuna, First Majestic up 5.9. B2 Gold's up 3.9. And you start looking at it and you go, well, what the hell am I trading a risk asset for at these levels if these keep going down and the sound money keeps going up? Well, that's the illusion right now. Because at some point, you're going to want to invest in this sector. It's just, unfortunately, right now, this is a siphoning loop until it's not. And we need to... Good morning. 8:26 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Tuesday, January 20th, 2026. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. I better get an umbrella because I'm probably going to get hate today. Cool Beanser. Thank you not only for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the XP Predictor, but upgraded to the classes. My man, my friend. Thank you for believing in what I do and helping me level up and bet on myself. Deexy, also in Tom's Army for your 2nd month with the Dusty Autos Crypto News, leveled up to the classes as well. What the? You want to talk about a vote of confidence this morning? The content might not be going out to a lot of people, or a lot of people might not want to click on it today because we're RUD. But man, what a vote of confidence. And the ones who are in here this morning, honestly, we have good people in here this morning. We're going to have a great day. It's going to be one of those days where we get to have a more intimate conversation unless, more people decide to come in. But I intentionally used the thumbnail I did today. I want people to stop focusing on XRP to 100, XRP to 1,000. Can we focus, please, on the realistic tug? I think a realistic proposition, and that's why I put that thumbnail yesterday, 27 to 8. I think a realistic price movement is $9. And you've seen, just even in the live house, some people were getting mad because it was only $9. So but that's something realistic in the charts. But to get there, we've got to figure out how we push ourselves. And right now, this has been nothing short of a nightmare if you're looking at it from the outside looking in. But if you look at it with knowledge, this is beautiful. I can't say that for a bunch of people that have bought the top of this market, but it's a good learning experience. If you're somebody who's having trouble with all of that, I encourage you, take the journey with me on February 2nd and beyond with the live classes. But we fell back within this, and if this was set up like this, and this is some kind of we can say it's a descending wedge, and it could still technically play through there. This is the one that I like personally. If we identify this as, and this is the debatable one, and this is the one that's going to get a lot of people. I like looking at this for 2 reasons. One, because if it comes down here and holds a triple bottom here, that could be very interesting. But 2, also because if you just look at it in the moment, you can almost see where maybe, just maybe, it's telling us something deeper here. Like, yes, we're way oversold in the daily, and there's no doubt about that. But the way this volume portfolio is, it's kind of telling us, like, guys, if we don't have enough buyers up here to jump out of this range, we need to go find more buyers. This is the case of, okay, we've got a brick. There's a brick wall in front of us. And yeah, a few of us can push it, but we can't get these bricks out of the way. But there's a wide front, so we can keep throwing more and more people there. So now you have more people, and now you're like, hey, this is kind of starting to budge. Well, now we need to go deeper into the city to find more people, maybe in the other fucking states, because we need more people to push this. And eventually we get enough people and we overpower it. Well, right now, we're kind of in the opposite. We don't have that steam to push us over, and every time we drop off and start to push back up, the volume is even less than we tried to push up the time before, which tells us we're exhausted in this range. Regardless of what all the naysayers say, regardless of what all the fudsters and all the moonshotters and all the people who want you to believe that we're going to 6,000% gains tomorrow, we've got to at least identify the fact that we found an area where we find buyers. Is this the area? Well, if it is, we need to make sure not to invalidate little setups and try to make this work in our favor. I'm trying to find one thing to hold my hat on. And I can tell you the one thing I was holding my hat on, and yesterday I said I'm not even feeling good about this, was the fact that Bitcoin, remember, it made this little bounce, but we had no volume. And we said that this is probably just going to break through and we're going to end up at the bottom on the uptrend at 86 to, and then we'd be in that liquidation zone because there's a lot of liquidity down there. But then if that's a bear flag, well, okay, let's do this again. Okay, everybody. What would this be? What is this? Assuming it's a fake out. Let me turn this blue, because we're trying to teach within these lessons, or within these lives. So I'm trying to find a way to evolve this. And in 2026, I think we have a really, 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 really redefined outlook. No, that looks dumb. I can't make you guys be like, oh, this guy doesn't even colorblind. It's not even the right color. Which one is it? Definitely not that one. It's got to be the one up at the top. That might be it. Let's put this up to maybe 3. It's got to be 3. Okay. So, now you can't even see it. I should have just kept it the color. I'll put it white. So, oh, that's actually a good idea. Because then it stands out over the pink and the yellow. Okay. So, if that... We have downtrending resistance, uptrending support, forming... So, again, I'm going to show this because this is, if you don't know what you're looking at. So, hey, I have a falling price action that formed lower highs, higher, and you don't even have to spell good, lows into triangle. You're just trying to give it an idea of what the hell you're talking about. And we've been trying to teach this because it's very important. There's subtle differences between different things. And if you struggle with these concepts, please join me in the classes in February. If anything, you know, we'll get in the right area. So, I mean, I'm not gonna waste your time. It's a symmetrical triangle, but I wanted you to see all 3 differences. So, if you had the flat bottom, which we were talking about on that chart with XRP, you got basically the flat support, downtrending resistance, which makes it a descending triangle. Now, the difference between an ascending triangle is now you've got the flat resistance and lower or higher lows. So that's an ascending triangle. The symmetrical triangle, which we're in, you have higher lows and lower highs at the same time. And we're coming in from a bearish direction too, remember. And normally a symmetrical triangle is a neutral continuation pattern. It's like a neutral pattern, but it's technically defined as a neutral continuation. So it usually goes with the momentum. So it's all about which direction we take. And, you know, that's why we're looking at this. So if we look at Bitcoin, if that's a symmetrical triangle, I know a lot of people are saying bullish, but I mean, the momentum is suggesting that, you know, they are technically continuation patterns. They're neutral, but they're technically, and if we were coming in a down direction, I mean, I would argue that if it's a neutral continuation, wouldn't that bring us down to like 72-ish? Like, let's just move the flag. But here, you want to measure this just for the sake of argument. We've done this before. I mean, that's 74. And then, if you want to talk about now, I can say, well, we didn't come all the way up to the rising wedge, but we came damn close enough to where we retested this and we just failed to get over. Like, we don't have to make an argument anymore. We did try to come up here and we failed. And honestly, this is off ever since they updated this. I knew something was wrong. Remember how we had to move where it was at? Yeah, look at where this wick's at. That's way above it. That's why it looks off. It actually came closer than it looks. Because the red circle, that red circle was supposed to be where it was tapping the rising wedge. And then it just, ever since this stupid update on, if you guys know TradingView, this update's been horrible. Makes you second guess what you put out. Yeah, see how much better that is? And it still didn't come up there, but it's in the circle now. That was the, okay, that's, and we talked about 99, but that's the max area. We didn't even come to that area. So if you just move the circle, whoops. It actually came into it if you just move it down. It just didn't take as long. We projected a little bit farther out because you can't tell. And then this would have been what I had to do to go bullish, but there was no volume to make that happen. Zero. That's the problem. We had no freaking volume. Even in the stochastic, that momentum is on such a down momentous push. So now I can't even say, hey guys, we have to come up and retest the breakdown of the rising wedge, because we did. We might not have come all the way up to it, but that's a legitimate bona fide hold of that resistance. It is. That you can't argue that. I can't argue that. And we came up here when we fell through. We tried here, and then we came all the way back around. But we can also say that maybe we're on a cup and handle. But if it comes down too far, that was the problem. We invalidate this entire structure. And then it gets even worse. Like, the worst part of this is, and I'm trying to figure out how XRP technically gets down to these levels. And then when I realized a while ago, as all of you did when you watched, if we've got this kind of a setup, and we've identified that we're actually in a rising wedge. And sometimes they break up 20% of the time, but it has to be with momentum. Like gold and silver, for example, if they form rising wedges, because of the amount of volume that's coming in, they'll probably break to the top side. And one could argue that gold actually broke out of a rising wedge almost-ish. But the difference is volume. But, I mean, these things add up. And it didn't break down there. What am I talking about? It technically never came back up after this hit. Like, so where it broke, I mean, it never, ever came back up. But we can still do it here just for, so we don't overshoot it. But, I mean, you're talking, look at that breakdown, if that happens. Now the one thing we need to hope for, I'm just saying, this is what we need to hope for. That's our best case scenario. That doesn't look too bad to me. Then you got shoulder, head, then maybe a shoulder, reversal, validation. Because this, I don't know what the fuck this is supposed to be, but that's not getting the job done right now because there's no volume. But other than that, excuse my French, this is a loving community here. I don't know what in the, what would the right words be? I don't know, there's some words that could fit this, but I'm just trying to, we're all just talking here. Nobody's saying we're going to go down a gazillion %, but why lie to ourselves that we're bullish? Like, why lie to ourselves? We've been in a bear, we already know this. So, if you're in a bear market, the trend is your friend regardless, so you expect to break down at the end of the day. I've also said it once, and I'll say it again until I'm blue in the face, that once you're on the wrong side of the trend, and you make the wrong decision one time, you're oftentimes jumping into a very, very dangerous area. So you don't want to be on the wrong side of town, so that's why you got to stay ahead of all markets. Like, we're not just ahead on crypto. We've been staying ahead on opportunities in miners. I talked about how I went deep into B2 gold. And I'm deeper in, you guys know the story, and how Dolly Varden and Fortuna when they were dropping. And like I put on the list where I thought were good ones last week when they had made that big drop. And Dolly Varden was down to like $4.55 again. Fortuna was under $10, around $9.30 again. First Majestic was down to 19 and some change. B2 Gold was at like what did it come down to at the lowest? 438 maybe, not crazy. But it did pull down recently to 371, but that was before these big pushes up this year. But we came down to about 435-ish. So that looks like it's wound up to me. Man, and just like with PLG I talked about when it had that drop, I doubled my position. I know MQ would be happy that I actually did something, but I've got just over 2,000 shares at the end of the day. But I've been doing it strategically when we were having, first time when it had a drop down, had a remarkable drop. Because we talked about it here. Oh, no, not here. We talked about it here. MQ, not there. What was this last drop? Oh, yeah, because we're in 26 now. Yeah, this is it. This drop. And then we came back over, and it's like, and If this breaks out here, it's going to be very interesting. This almost looks like a potential hammer candle closed on Friday. Ooh, I wasn't even paying attention to that Friday. See, I talked about it on Friday, the options that were expiring. Remember how I said they can't really let the miners go up too high until those options expired Friday because too many banks were deleveraged and there was too many entities tied in. I went through the whole spew. I don't know how many people watched it. But yeah, now would be the time for the miners. Dan Margina, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Zone for over 6 months with the XP Predictor. Bounce back, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Zone for over 3 months with the XP Meteor, along with MQ. Also, a very trusted mod in here on the Telegram. Thank you, MQ, for everything you do for this community, above and beyond. Silver Days, thanks for being in Tom's Zone for your 2nd month with the Dusty's Outhouse Crypto News. Mark Caston, thanks for being in Tom's Zone for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Tommy Reese, thanks for being in Tom's Army for your 1st month with the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens. Oliver Marks, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge along with Mark. Mrs. Scott, good morning. I hope you and Mr. Stott are having a blessed start to the day. Both in Tom's Army 3+ months with the XP Meteor. And thank you for the kind words, Mrs. Stott, in the short talking about how accurate. That helps people when they come in. They'll be like, "Oh, Mrs. Stott, that's a integral person right there." So if she's saying that Tom is good at his technicals, maybe I should follow this XRP Future Millionaire. So I appreciate it. Matt Grimes, good morning. Cool story, welcome in. Poppy Lou, good morning, along with Crypto Cooter. Thanks for being in Tom's Army over 6 months with the XP Predictor. And Crypto Cooter, a very trusted mod in this community. I can't thank you enough. Good morning, Matt Grimes. Word up, brother. As we give all glory to God and we thank Yahweh, Yeshua, Emmanuel, Jesus Christ, and our Lord and Savior. You know, and obviously we bestow hopefully some gifts from God as more than one of us speaks the name of our Lord and Savior, and God becomes present in our actions. And we always continue the prayer of all prayers for Bearded Viking and fighting Mighty Marcus, who's fighting the good fight, and his spirits are raised every time we talk about him. And Bearded Viking has had to take on some extra work, as we know. I know that feeling all too well, unfortunately, when it comes to, well, I don't want to get into my son when we're talking about this, but let's make sure we say a prayer for Bearded Viking and Mighty Marcus, as we ask our Lord and Savior to just, at the very least, make sure that Mighty Marcus is as pain-free as possible and can live the good life for as long as he can, and that Bearded Viking gets the clarity, because the clarity in his mind is going to be what makes the difference for him and Mighty Marcus. So we love you. We pray for you. Amen. Always have to remember to keep them in our hearts and our prayers, because they're going through something that is very, 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 I unfortunately can't imagine, because, well, not in a similar way, but there's been stuff, as some of you know, with our little guys battle. So, well, let's get into that. Let's get more positive here, but we're thinking about you, Bearded and Mighty Marcus. We love you guys. Mark Korf, good morning. I think I already said hi. Cool story. Matt Grimes, welcome in. Totally awesome. Thanks for being in Tom's Army 3+ months with the XP Meteor. Tanya, welcome in, love, one of our most popular members of all times. And Tom's Army for over 3 years with the XP Diamond Hands badge. Said I got a little time to watch before work. I'm glad I started a little bit earlier today. My son doesn't have school today. The boiler wasn't working at school. They called us at 6:30. Got a message and said the elementary, middle school, and high school were closed. And it's only 2 degrees outside. It's really cold with the wind chill. So I'm happy about this. So the only place that's open is the early childhood center, which would be preschool and earlier. So T caught a break, and he was tired. He's been up since like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., so he really wanted to go to sleep. He would have went to school without fighting, but once he realized we didn't have school, he was out in like 5 minutes. Improving to his skin stuff is improving every day. Seems to be on the right track. Looks a lot better than he did a couple days ago. He's just, it's going to take time for it to 100% heal up. This part. Silver Days, good morning, and thanks for being in Townsend for your second month with Dusty Autos Crypto News. Garbanzo. And Big Dog, along with Crypto Plumber, Dirty Train Rider. Wow, look at everybody in Townsend 6+ months with the XP Predictor. Thank you all, my fine friends. CJ2 Pilot, good morning, and thanks for being in Townsend for over 2 years with the XP 589 Moonbed. Says, good morning, everyone. Tom, because of the halving, does Bitcoin have to at least double every 4 years to survive? If so, how does all the Bitcoin sitting in ETFs affects things? That is an excellent question. On the surface, you would say yes. With the advancement of the ETFs, I'm not sure if that's technically the case, but the unfortunate part about this is that we've hit that time lapse now with Bitcoin, with the halving, that now we should have like a 60% correction. That's why I think 50-something thousand is not unrealistic, because every single time after we've done this halving, and then we had like 500 and something days in between, or 300, it depends which one you look at. You always had this big drop after, and then that preceded the next big leg up. So it's the same thing with XRP and everything else. Like I can only say that I have gone so liquid in so many ways without saying so many things. But I am liquid big time for this drop. Again, well, for the drop that's already happened, but I'm just liquid until proven otherwise with a lot of things. And you can deem that whatever you want to deem it. I'm not a financial advisor, nor should you be basing your decisions on just what I do, but these decisions have been made long ago. And nothing's flipped my mind right now because the push-up was embarrassing. When somebody asked me yesterday, did you buy that drop? Not in the way you would have expected, because there's no volume. Like, there is no volume. Like, you could have bought a pedestrian swing trade, but that volume that came up was actually a little bit sad. It was a little sad, because when you're watching it up after such a massive drop, you're like, okay, well, maybe, just maybe, we went down towards that falling wedge back test. But then on the push up, you're watching it and you're like, wow, the volume's even lower than it was before the drop. How is this possible? So all that tells me is after we wiped out all that liquidity, there's been like, I don't remember what the exact, 480 million or something wiped out in XRP leverage in the last so many hours. Hey, Bearded Viking. I don't know if you got to hear what I just said, but I'm glad you're in here almost by the stroke of luck here this morning. Wow. I haven't scrolled down this far. There's no way I've been on that long talking. Oh, my. Okay, so you might have been in here and heard that. So that's a blessing. I did not realize I was 27 minutes behind in the comments, or 23 minutes. Holy smokes. But I'm blessed to have you in here, my friend. And he said, good morning, everyone. And Tom, I hope everyone is doing well. Sorry that I haven't been here, and I appreciate all of the prayers. We can use them. Amen to that. We have a very prayerful community here. And it doesn't mean you have to believe in the Almighty. It just means that in this community, you know that there's something more than just yourself. So spiritual can mean a lot of different things. So there's no judgment here. Like I've said before, I believe the Spirit. If you believe that the Spirit and that there's something greater than just ourselves, and we're doing this for something higher, and whatever that might mean to you, from a spiritual sense, I think we're on the right track. Luke, good morning, but we got to get through all this. We really got to keep digging into this chart, because it's unfortunately we've said it before, and we'll say it again. XRP might be a very emotional one to watch, but it is very straightforward in the charts. It's not often you're going to get fooled by the chart. It's just often you're going to get tricked by the biggest trick that I've noticed with XRP is you have to wait 9, 10, 11, 16, 27 months for a 17-day rally or a 8-day rally. Think about it. The average lifespan of the push for XRP's rallies, I'm not joking. It's almost insane. Look at XRP's lifespan here. This one at least gave us a few weeks, but XRP's entire rally went 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 weeks. Then we had a mild push, but the entire rally was basically summed up in a 4-week push. And then we leveled out, and then we came back up a little higher. So basically the big climb, when everybody wanted to be in, you basically had a 28-day window to get in. Otherwise, you were just part of the sideways and likely down consolidation. Because who's going to buy it right here at 320 and sell it at 350? Nobody. You're up 10%. Who gives a rat's ass? It's not even worth the risk. Now, if you would have waited to down here, $1.64, great move. Or better yet, the historical liquidation. But that exchange is nonsense. That's finance. But think about it. So now we're looking at this, and then you go back to the most embarrassing one was 2021 when I started, which made it the easiest to predict what was coming next. This was probably the greatest gift we were ever given. Ready, guys? The XRP rally, when I first started on YouTube, literally lasted 8 days. In 8 days, XRP went from like... It's going to be hard to get back there in the daily because it's so many years, but at least I have it on this kind of a screen so I can get back here quicker. So, I wish it was a joke. I wish it was a joke. So in January, we went from 27 and we went all the way up to here, right? 77. Then we consolidated all the way back down. And knowing what you know now with technicals, it might have been easier to recognize it. But we went down here and look where we were at. We were at 45 cents on March 26th. Then we went back up, consolidated, and the official breakout, I would say, what would it be? This candle right here, April 5th, was probably the official breakout. It took you literally from April 5th and you topped out by April 14th. I wish I was joking. That was your window to get in the push. You had all these years to consolidate all the way from this top here. And as it came down, the best buy would have been 17 on the lawsuit announcement. And then this consolidation somewhere in here, because you were waiting for confirmation, was the best buy. If you would have got it around 45.9 cents, you did the best job because you waited for confirmation. Our average was 47 cents in 21. So when I started, it was on the confirmation wing, and that's when I started my YouTube channel because I was getting sick of all the moon channels. I wanted to do something different from a standpoint of technicals over the news because the technicals predict news. When I see most of the channels that do XRP, it almost drives me up a wall. All I see is the same exact reporting of the same exact news. So somebody put together something, somebody else watched it, and they all just regurgitate it and add on what the next person says. It's just like TikTok. Somebody says something about, let's just say, oh, hey, there was a volcano. Well, then somebody else realized, well, there was a volcano and somebody fell into the volcano. Well, then somebody realized there was a volcano and somebody fell into the volcano, but then the guy who fell into the volcano actually didn't fall in and he was hanging on there for, the story evolves. But they all share the same semblance, except they try to add a new piece until there's nothing to add and they all just share the same stuff. Yesterday was a perfect example. There was an article a little thing circulated about Trump and Ripple. And it started to be shared on more and more stations. And this is essentially what it looked like. I did it like that so I wouldn't get banned. But this is what it looked like. Where was it at on Facebook? This is what it looked like. And that was circulating everywhere. That message. A lot of people were sharing that. And it was on, this became the big story. It was all at the same time. And I sat there and I go, you know what? How mind-numb is this community to where everybody would rather watch that bullshit than come in, see real technicals, be able to buy and sell at demand, not have to worry about all these nonsensical, lit up, factual stories just so they can get a view? Wouldn't you rather just be able to control your own destiny? Like, become your own powerhouse. That's why every time this happens, I become more and more... I become a better version of myself every time this market does this, because I know for a fact now, every time that I get this feeling when we're topping out and everybody is saying it's not possible, it's too quick, we've topped out. When I get this feeling of I need to switch markets and when nobody else is, I know it's the right decision now. Just based on just human history, my own personal history of human emotion. So I would rather be in control of my own fate than have to be like, oh, well, I got to listen. I don't understand. I do, but I don't. It's an indictment on our culture, I think. You know, and some would say, you know, I don't do the right kind of content to hit the general narrative just because there is exhaustion when it comes to charts. There's such a thing called chart exhaustion or price exhaustion. But most of it comes because people are just waiting for a number that's irrelevant. I think it's intriguing when, like, down days like today, my God, there's like 60. Oh, never mind. There's 99 people in here. I was going to say there's 60 people in here. And on a red day like today, I would rather there be 150 people today and 20 people on a green day. Unfortunately, when it gets real green, there's the last time we got into a real market top, there's 600 people in this live. The last time we were like this, I would get 40 and 50 people. Now I get it consistently over 100. It just, no matter what the market looks like, there's over 100 people in the lives for whatever reason, and I'm internally grateful for that. Even today, we've even got up to 100 people. And I started early, people are at work. So, like, that makes me feel good that people are starting to at least care about their own futures. The more people in here, the more I know people care about their own selves. Dennis, good morning, and thanks for being a very loyal viewer in here. And also the $1.99 super chat. That is extremely generous, my friend. Unbelievable. Self-awareness says, I see crypto charts like traffic with patches of clear lanes. Absolutely. I love that analogy. And thanks for being in Town Zone for 3+ months with the XRP Meteor. Mrs. Stott said, oh, look, who was that? Hoodie Mike. Hoodie Mike says, is it complicated buying metals? I've never got into it, but I know I need to. Too risky buying blockchain era. Yes and no. There is still a big... Mike, I encourage you to stay here, my friend, because there is going to come a time, and we've been part of it 3 times in this community. 21, 23, 24. They were small-lived in each occasion, but we were at least able to make a significant life-altering amount, at least in the moment, to where we're able to see this from a different light. And I'm going back to a different strategy as well. I'm doing the triple X Ha, but as the prices go down, I'm going to teach you the strategy I did with XRP, depending on how low these go. So depending on the price, you need 10,000 tokens. So when XRP was $3,500, 10,000 tokens was fine. If, like, right now, H bar for 10,000 is under $1,100. So in this case, depending on how much money you have, in this case, depending on how low we go, I would say you would at least double that, because once it gets under 10 cents, I like to go 20,000 minimum. However, when you get into the case of XDC, I think, depending on how much money you have, if you can get 100,000 when it gets to where it's going. So I'm going to start to live by those numbers again and see what happens so that we can have a more unified community. That means, like, depending on how cheap, like, Algo and how cheap some of these go, we might be able to get 6 figures of these for dirt fucking cheap. Right now, 100,000 is $11,650 expensive for Algo. Imagine if it comes down to 6 or 5 cents. I'm telling you guys, the life-altering amounts here, people are like, Tom, why don't you short the market? I do by virtue. I don't like to short it because then I look at the market differently. My shorting of the market is going liquid. And instead of having X amount of tokens, having all this money still in the account, and then being able to buy back these sectors. And then I get to decide, well, if I want to buy some SHX down there because I've got extra capital just by virtue, on this drop, I've already opened up several $1,000s of capital just based on these drops. And you can base it however you want now, because I'm not going to talk about individual assets. I'm just trading them all the same way. I don't care about price average. I don't care about any of that shit. None of it. I just care about how many tokens I have when the price goes to where it needs to go. So I'm trying to maximize my tokens based on the bullish and bearish cycles. And right now we are in a bearish cycle. By not being afraid to do what I'm doing, it's opened up a lot of liquidity. A lot. And I was able to take off, what was it, $5,000 off crypto, the exchanges, because of this last week, by staying ahead. And I put it into the metals market, as I talked about, and I said the exact ones that I flipped them into. And that was the best, another good decision. A weird decision, but a great decision. I just had a feeling. Look at this shit. Oh my God. The metals are going to open up and we're going to go. I always say, don't judge me just based on crypto when it's in a bull market. Judge me what I do when others are saying otherwise, but also judge me on other markets. A true telling of somebody knows what they're talking about is they can do it in any market. And have we not been on the nuts? I'm literally, this morning I'm looking for my dick on the floor. It disappeared. I'm like, I have to take a piss, but my dick literally fell to the floor with this action. Literally. It's literally, I can't find it. Oh, there it is over there. This price action is so extreme, it's literally sliding away. Like, that's where we're at right now, and I apologize. This is a family-friendly show, I suppose. So, my Groteskies are rolling away. My Scorseses have literally slid down the extreme. You know, I don't even know what to say. Like, what am I supposed to say? Hey, guys, in 21 when we had the bull market and I told everybody to sell crypto, and then in 22 when I said take that money and flip it into gold when it was at 1650 and through 1900 and almost 2000, and when I was begging everybody to buy silver between 16 and 26, 27 and silver stackers, and then to buy the miners in January. You know, sometimes when I go back and I see what I've done, they could write a movie on me. They could write a movie about what we've done here. And most people have never even heard about this community, but they could write a freaking movie. They could make a movie. I can honestly say I'm the single foremost expert when it comes to XRP price action in the world. I've been doing this since March 24th of 2021. Every single day. That's almost 1,800 days in a row. And look, back last January, why I sold 75% of my crypto and turned focus to gold, silver, and mining stocks. But as you know, that was in all mining stocks, but we paid attention to gold and silver. Notice how my views got cut in a quarter on a lot of things after this because, you know, when you go from an all-in perspective to we're going to a cycle shift perspective, like, look, 12% of the, or 20% of the audience already left. We're at 118, but this needs to be said. If money's going into these markets, we have to pay attention. Like, when does this end? It's gotta, I mean, I didn't know we'd be up $150 now on gold, but our technical target, you got, you know, higher highs, higher lows, forming a triangle. I mean, what does that look like to you guys? And here's another cool thing you can do. See this? Hey, Google, I don't know what I'm looking at, right? Please paste image link. Oh, upload file. My gallery. I don't know what's going on, Google. What the hell is this? What setup is... Oh, AI. It can be a friend, but it's also a big foe because I'm not happy about the robots. The image displays a financial setup. The technical analysis shows a ascending triangle or rising wedge. See? So you have to look at different factors. That's why I said, like, in this particular one, would you consider that a rising wedge? I mean, a rising wedge or an ascending triangle? And it proved that this is probably an ascending triangle. They're very similar. They're very similar. But what it wants you to do here, it wants you to kind of take this a step farther. But it always looks like, you know, to me, it looked like almost a rising wedge. But see, they don't have to break down. Remember, when there's extreme volume, these things do break out. Now the technical target, and it's been a clean break, honestly. We already had a breakout, a big back test, push out flag, push out, let's see. The technical target, if this plays true, is $5,200. If you look at the 1 month in the macro, it's an uptrend. Mid-cycle pullback for Bitcoin, which, let's be honest, is the only chart that matters at the moment. XOP is still tethered to it. At least stop with it only matters about Bitcoin. Listen, my friend. Stop selling yourself short in all these charts. How are you going to be a professional in a laser-like precision if you base it all around just Bitcoin when it comes to the chart? Okay, that's fine. But if Bitcoin drops 12%, how much does XRP drop? Where's the price? You know, the individual token you want. Don't sell yourself short. The more you know on the charts, the more you can break these down. It's not just apples to apples. You can't just say, oh, Bitcoin's the only chart that matters. They run in symmetry, yes, but they don't run in the same way. They run in different percentages. You can't just say an apple's an apple when it's a fucking pear. They might look the same, they might act the same, they might even crunch the same, but they're different. There's difference. It's like gold and silver, like they're different. Things are different. But at a certain point, you know, we're gonna hit some kind of a freaking wall at some point. And you know, but just don't sell yourself short on the charts, please. You want to keep all this. Yes, Bitcoin is still the overall asset, the overall trend. And right now, we still have an opportunity not to break down. You know, we still have an opportunity for this not to go all the way. And I'm not saying it's the end of the cycle. All I'm saying is there's different targets that are presented. And technically, we could still be super bullish and come all the way to 58 and just backtest that cup and handle that form. I mean, that does happen. But we've also shown a lot of different scenarios where we could bounce back up. You know, there's a lot of scenarios, but we've got to hold some support here. We're just not holding any of the basic support. Now we got to make sure that that symmetrical triangle doesn't just break down. Because if that breaks down, that's a whole nother problem. Because then you're talking like 79, or what was it? 74 or something? 79? No, it was lower than that. I think it was 70. What did it say on the other chart? 74.3. So we'll see. We will see how this works. But I like your perspective, just not the fact that it doesn't matter to look at other charts. I'll never be a fan of that. Because that's like saying you don't need to look at the mining charts because gold tells you everything. Well, it might be the leader in the clubhouse for the direction, but it can't tell you the percentages, and it also can't tell you, you know, the actual move. And the correlation helps you realize things too, because you can look at things a little deeper and be like, well, if this is where this is going to go, and then we project it out, well, this would be a good buying opportunity, or this would be a good spot to add, or this would be a good time to let it go, you know. So I like to, you know, I like to keep my mind open to these. You know, I like to keep my mind open to some of this in a weird way. XDC legitimately gave it all back from yesterday. It was up to 4.3, all the way back down to 4.1. And we talked about XDC yesterday too, how there was just no volume. The volume is just, it's not there for any of these. And this just reversed another 4.2%. So it's like, why don't we buy there? You don't get caught in the green candle because now you're down 4.2% this morning and you're probably shuffling out again. You know, you don't want to get caught on the wrong train. Tom, what's your thoughts on platinum and palladium lagging behind gold and silver? Maybe a good buy. I think platinum right now is definitely one to pay attention to. Palladium, yes, but it's different for retail, so it's a different process for palladium. So obviously that's a little different. But as far as platinum goes, platinum is in a very bullish structure. I mean, look at that. Platinum setting up just a basic, I mean, I keep wanting to just say it, but I want to ask the audience again. So what do you think that pattern is? That it's set up in platinum. And I know not everybody likes silver talk and gold talk, so they leave, but it's important to me. No, the F-bombs aren't back. Kind of looks like another symmetrical triangle. Kind of looks like it, and it went in a bullish fashion. So they're neutral patterns, but they're neutral continuation patterns, which means if you have volume, so basically when you come into the triangle, what you're looking for here. So when you're coming into the triangle, Here's a good rule of thumb if you're watching this. When you come in, got volume when you pushed in, right? But when you were over here, in here though, in the consolidation, was volume at least on the sell? Was it dropping in this triangle? What you want to see is the dropping volume as it consolidates. And then when you break out, you'd like to see a push in volume. Well, we haven't broke out yet. And if we put it into the daily sense, it's easier to see. The volume was consolidating. It was up when it went in. And now that it's been consolidating, the volume has been going down a little bit. It hasn't dried out, but it's definitely been going down. So what you're looking for, daily's breaking up. You're looking for a breakout past roughly 2,450 with this volume surging back up into these levels. If that happens, we're going to confirm this breakout. And what does the technical target become? The technical target for this kind of a consolidation, roughly, this is just a rough estimate, of course, would put platinum up to right around 2,800 levels. That's going to drive PLG up there. If that happens, PLG's on a big potential breakout here. So if that actually pans out, and that's the best way that I could set that chart up. Yes, you can go farther back, you can extend it up, but this is where the true consolidation started happening. And more I'm starting to just focus on the real consolidation areas. Could we pull that back farther and try to make this into something it's not? Of course we could. But for what we have in the here and now, we have to go with what we have. And that's what we got. Uranium's another interesting one, but uranium, especially with the threat of nuclear war, is a lot harder for us to attain. I tried to get palladium years ago when I was buying platinum and mostly silver and some gold. I tried to buy palladium, and the amounts they would make you buy, retail can't afford it. Let's just call it for what it is. Retail just can't afford that kind of a purchase. You know what's incredible is seeing Murphy's down 6% this morning. It's incredible. Incredible. It could just be back testing. But, you know, I still think for oil, I really do feel like they can't drive the price up that much because the U.S. is hanging their head on it. But, you know, we'll see if that thesis plays out or not. It is quite interesting to see oil up 0.5%, but Murphy's down 6%. I wonder what happened there. It's a good thing, believe me. They don't have earnings yet, so it's not earnings. Or revenue. What I'm curious about is when this market opens in the USA, do we get a lot of buyers with the physical metals or miners? Because something's got to change. We got to find some volume to flip. What I meant by tethers, if Bitcoin hits targets, be it breaking through bottom of top resistance levels, it doesn't really matter what is going on with extra real. Oh, yeah, that's fair. That part I agree with you. I will 100% stand on the same line with you and preach that point you just made. I agree, big time. That I agree with, Elise. I'm glad you further typed that out. Went up more often, close to 1-to-1. Sometimes we break up X2, X4 on percentages. When Bitcoin drops, we usually suffer going down X2 to... I agree with that as well. The only reason I like to separate them is just so that I can get individual price levels. From an apples to apples standpoint of them all being crypto and they follow Bitcoin, I agree with that. For the percentages, I often agree with what you're saying as well, because it technically, from a statistical standpoint, you're not off. That is something very noticeable. Like you can see it again today. Bitcoin's down 1.7%. XRP's down 3.1%. You know, there's almost a 2-to-1 right there, and it's not even that big of a differential, and it looks like less because XRP pulled up to this last minute resistance that it dropped through. Garbanzo. Mrs. Stott says, haha, Garbanzo, I have a major appreciation for what you do since having a leak in my foundation that took over 3 months. That is very true. Garbanzo does do a lot. Just a dishwasher leak. And Garbanzo, I wish you were closer to me. You could be my hands-on handyman. Like, you could be my handyman. Let's see. Who did I miss? Cannabis Podcast. Thanks for being in town. Over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Says paper, silver, flipping into crypto when the time is right. That's what I'm thinking too. It would be the paper silver market, even the paper gold market, but mostly the paper silver, like coming out of the SLV, the iSilver Trust, and things like that. You know what else is kind of interesting this morning that we should talk about? How long have we been on? You know, I really want to go into a talk. If I ended this and went into vertical, would anybody be mad if we just talked? Would anybody come back? I really want to talk about a few things this morning outside the charts. It'll still have to do with crypto, but it's something Trump, he's touting for the next Fed chairman. He's touting the well, I don't want to go into it about BlackRock, the entity from BlackRock, but he's on the top of the list now, and it's a scary proposition. It's a really scary proposition. But I don't think I'm ready to just stop talking to everybody, and it's been an hour already. I acknowledge that. But we can continue this topic of discussion, but there's just so much more. I think we've done all we can do with the charts this morning, though, without me talking you to death. I really do. I'm interested to see how the metals open, for sure. I'm very interested. First Majestic is freaking ripping it, which we expected. It was about to break out. Its technical target right now is out of this short breakout. Man, TradingView is just a pain with this update. Man, can we get anything right? Let's put this to. I did this. Broke out about right here. So it was pushing up to about 24.81 this morning, 23 bucks. I would say, again, understanding the technicals when it comes to these markets has put us up here. Now look at what it did. If guys, I know it looks like we're on a massive breakout already, but I would love to show you something. Guys, if we get outside the symmetrical triangle because of the short-term push, our technical target turns into, and now it's going to look fucking crazy. And I acknowledge this, that I don't even know if this is possible. Because when I look at these targets, it makes me go, you know, this would mean that silver is really going to these unprecedented levels. And the way we've already looked at it, it's like, can this happen? Well, I mean, we bought this in January of last year, in January, February, and this was at under $4. We averaged like $4.20. And now it's at 24. Assuming it just makes the same move of 6x. I mean, you're talking about if it just makes that same... it blows my mind, because this would be like XRP making the move to all-time highs and Bitcoin being at 600,000 now after it made the move. Like the one that leads the charge is literally so freaking bullish right now. And I mean, I'm not saying, guys, you have to buy this because this is the target. I'm saying I bought this for opportunities that might come for, I don't ever know if it can get up to $200+. But that pattern that's set up for a number of 14, 15 years that we're trying to break out of as we speak, even had a fake out here that showed an inverse pattern, which is why we bought. It was so undervalued at that time, I almost shit myself during that whole time. The only reason it even did this was there were so many acquisitions during this time period, and the last one was somewhere around here. When it went to 450-ish, like mid to late year. No, it was first to second quarter. I'm sorry. And we couldn't believe it. I'm like, I know one day the prices we're going to be talking about, and now we're talking about some of them, and it's not even to those other levels. It's just the early levels. But we knew it would come at a cost for risk assets. Yeah, Nick, Furby Trades, thanks for being in Tom's on your second month. Dusty Dallas Crypto News, and also being a very trusted mod in this community and doing so much work. But yeah, gold futures is way up. Just on the gold spot right now. Silver's up 5.6% right now. We're $5. I don't know if have we ever. That's a crazy opening right now. From when we opened the markets, and gold's up $148 again, 3.2% to $47.44. Platinum is up 4% to $24.17 and almost breaking out. So it's going to be a very interesting open this morning when it comes to the market. So I want to set this up and we'll come back and have a deeper discussion. I hope everybody comes back. I want to do this so you can just see me, so we don't have to focus on the charts, but we can have a real conversation in vertical. And I really do like that setup as well. So